What's up, everybody? I'm pretty sure we're live. I'm about 90% sure we're live. Okay, yeah, we're live. We're in this thing. A little bit late. Technical difficulties, not on my end, which is great. Haven't had technical difficulties on my end for quite some
You
time.
better
So
knock on wood because you were the queen
I
of
am.
technical difficulties last
No,
season.
I was last season, but it's a new season. This is a new me. I got my thinking glasses on. I got
Should I
my
put mine on
Brian.
too? Like these little
Yeah,
dorky blue
my
light
Brian
glasses that
Kelly.
probably don't work.
My Brian Kelly gritty tee. Brian Kelly is also wearing back there. If y'all cannot tell, I also have my Jordan Alvarez, who's Yo Daddy tee. It's absolutely phenomenal. The merch team is doing a fantastic job. But besides me chatting about that and obviously how much fun I had at the Astros game this weekend, shout out Houston Astros for hosting me. We're talking football and we're talking the AFC South. We're also going to talk a little preseason. So let's just run through that really quick. I actually was late to the game today because I think I saw the Giants plus money until the Patriots said that we're sitting everyone. And I literally wrote down, I think the Giants are going to play their first string to really get some momentum going. I think that, Belichick will probably sit, his starters. He's not a big preseason guy. And I really thought that this was going to be a good money line play for the Giants. Well, we can't take it now. Now that they've announced that all of the Patriot starters will be out. So my advice was going to be the Giants money line. I was going to act like I had some balls there, but now it doesn't look like I have balls, and they're the favorites, and I won't be laying minus 155 in a freaking preseason game. I don't know about you, Kel. What do you think about that?
You're absolutely right, Megan. You are late to the party there. But I will pivot to the next game just because you mentioned Belichick's not that big on preseason. You know who's the best preseason coach ever? John
John
Harbaugh, of
Harbaugh.
course. My favorite Harbaugh brother, 18-1-1 against the spread. This guy, what he does during preseason is he places an early emphasis on winning. And I love that. So I got to bet the Ravens. That's the only one I've got tonight. I gave out the Jets money line. What was that, on Monday? Maybe
Yeah,
even last Friday that I was told a sharp group played. We'll get to that because they play later on in the weekend. But man, football's back, baby. I'm so excited.
Are you laying the 3.5 with the Ravens, or is that the advice that you would give? I mean, because I was reading an article or two saying that maybe Harbaugh is not going to go as hard in the preseason because of the injuries he suffered last year. But I feel like it's really hard to just like flip on a dime like that. Harbaugh has cared for multiple seasons about preseason. I don't think just because last year he had some injuries in the preseason that it's necessarily a completely different game. And for example, the Raiders, first preseason game of the season, I don't think I told you this. I bet I gave out the Raiders, so you saw that. But then I hit them live 3 separate times. And if that's
betting preseason live, Megan, that's
yeah,
when you
I know.
made it.
I knew you can't use the D word, so I didn't want to bring it up because I know you're tempted. And it was some that I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there. I was like, man, I'm gonna hit them again. And then they went up. It was like 3. Then they went up 6. And then I was like, I'll hit them again at 6. And then I hit them again at 6. And I was like, I'll hit them again at 13.5. Sure enough, I got lucky enough to cover that 13.5. But yeah, that was just stupid.
Laying 13.5 live in a preseason game, man. What a life
Brilliant.
Megan has.
Just brilliant over here. I can't tell myself enough about that. So what I think I'll do is I'll wait to see how the Ravens are looking, if Harbaugh is putting that preseason emphasis on winning, as you said, and maybe just make some money live, because who doesn't like live money? Live money is dangerous, but it's also a lot of fucking fun. On that note, let's go ahead and get into the AFC South, because we just talked about something that was fun, and now the opposite of fun, the AFC South.
You stop it.
I was asking you before the show started because I genuinely do not know. Is it statistically possible that I can take the under win total for every team in this division? Because I mean, I'm just not seeing any W's on the board, especially
Megan. I would not do that. I would not recommend that. I could see you taking 2, maybe even 3. But remember, these teams have to play each other twice a year. So they're going to get some W's somewhere.
Is it statistically possible? I'm not sure, but if there was a division that I would do it in, it would be the AFC South. So let's go ahead and start with the favorites here, as the Colts. They're minus 125 to win the division. They are sitting at a win total of 10, and I think it's even over at the Barstool Sportsbook. And look, this team hasn't had a divisional title in what feels like, honestly, forever, but they're always a divisional threat. Like, you can never count the Colts out. And now you have Matt Ryan, who gets to spread or shed his proverbial wings after leaving the Falcons and heading over to the Colts. I think him and Frank Reich should be a really good. Is that how you say it?
Who?
Reich. I'm seeing the way it's spelled in my head.
Frank Reich.
Right? That's not right. I don't like that.
It's right.
I'm seeing the way it's spelled in my head. I think that Matt Ryan doesn't have. I don't want to say necessarily he doesn't have a lot left in his tank, but look, the dude's old. He's old as far as it goes. He's old, but he's done a lot of good stuff within his career. Now he's got Jonathan Taylor back there to really handle a big load for him. I'm not real sure who he's going to be passing to. Let's see. Who do they have out there as wide receivers right now? And as far as the Colts, do you know? I need to go back and look at my notes.
You crack me up. They have terrible wide receivers. They're almost in the bottom.
That's why I said I have to look at my notes
of the list. They do have the number one running back in the game, though, Megan.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's a badass.
Wait to draft Jonathan Taylor number one. And the good news for Jonathan Taylor is I don't have the number one pick in my fantasy league, so he's probably not going to get hurt.
I was just about to say, don't draft him then. Yeah, I thought you had a curse. I mean, his yardage is over 1,400 and a half. I mean, I would look at that as
huge numbers.
But he hit 1,900 last year, which is insane. But again, you're banking on him if he's going to be the workhorse for Matt Ryan. Him as a running back, can he stay healthy all season? I feel like the
good news is he has a solid offensive line. So in theory, he should be able to do exactly what he's supposed to do, right? I mean, he's got to be the number one. He's got to be the number one guy in the backfield. Got to be. I think that there's no argument there.
I'm not loving it though. I don't think I'm going to take a risk. As I said, I don't love this division at all. This division is, in my opinion, laughable this year. And maybe I will be completely wrong, and everyone will shove this in my face. But I'm definitely not going to be betting the Colts at -125 to win the division. And I'm definitely looking at the under as far as their win total is sitting at 10. The Titans are just more appealing to me. Why? Because I think I like the combo of Ryan Tannehill a little bit better than I do, Frank Reich. Is that how you just said it? Because in my brain, I'm still seeing R-I-C-H. Is that how it is spelled?
R-E-I-C-H. Frank Reich. Megan.
Dyslexia. No, I don't
Let me tell you about Frank. Frank is the Bill Snyder of the NFL. He does so much more with less. He's had 5 different quarterbacks the last 5 seasons.
And how is
Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz. Is Matt Ryan ruined from Super Bowl 51? I'm not sure. He might be. Full disclosure, he may never have recovered from that. And that's just a fact because that's basically what happened to Cam Newton. He never recovered from Super Bowl 50. But like I said, Frank does more with less. Since 2018, he's had 2 trips to the playoffs and just 1 losing season. The guy is a great coach. I mentioned great O-line. My biggest problem with this Colts team in terms of wanting to take the over, and we spoke about this on Monday's show, when you have teams that did poorly in 1-score games, the next season, they generally improve. Last season, Colts were 2-5 in 1-score games. Like, they were 0-2 in overtime. Like, my God, Colts backers just had to want to pull their hair out. I think I was one of them. But this year, they have the 3rd easiest schedule.
I think I made fun of them a lot last year. I'm pretty sure I was...
we made fun of Carson Wentz a lot. And that's because
on Wentz
he made a lot of bonehead mistakes, and that's because he's Carson Wentz. He went to North Dakota State. There's another K-State reference. Chris Kleiman was his head coach, which was great in college. And he just never made that leap in the NFL. He got hurt that year that his team went to the Super Bowl. It is what it is, but I could not make a case for taking the under this year. I'll be really honest with you. As I mentioned, solid O-line, Jonathan Taylor. You've got Matt Ryan, who at one point in time could have been argued to be a quarterback. Remember we talked about there's elite, which would be like an A-plus quarterback. There's A's, B's, C's. I think Matt Ryan at one point in time in his career was an A quarterback. I do not want to say he's an upgrade from Carson Wentz, but I definitely don't think he's a downgrade. I like the over win total here at the Barstool Sportsbook. It kind of pains me to say it because I think a lot of people want to take the over because of Jonathan Taylor, because of this really good run game. I think this team can win 10 games, and I think that they're the AFC South favorite, just a small favorite for a reason. And also, they got Gus Bradley as a defensive coordinator, so they're going to be able to fix some of those woes that they faced defensively last year, like losing those one-score games. So I expect to see this team improve from last season.
So as far as divisional champs, would you be laying the juice with the Colts, or do you find value in any other team?
I wouldn't say I find value in any other team. I know we're about to get into the Tennessee Titans, and I could make a case for the coin flip Titans. But do I think the Jags are going to win the division? No. Do I think the guy with the long neck is going to win the division? No.
The guy with the long neck. Pretty isn't that Gleason? Glennon? No, Glennon. I think he keeps thinking of that. Is it fucking what movie is that?
You're a mess.
No, I'm not a mess. What is the movie? God, I'll think.
Don't ever ask me movie stuff, Megan. I'll be full disclosure. I'm like the opposite of a movie buff. Don't ask me anything about the movies because I don't know the answer.
I won't ask you anything about the movies, but what I will tell you about is really quickly where we need to be putting our money as far as what we will be winning after this football season, what I've been winning from baseball, what I've been losing from baseball. I can all keep track of it where in my Skrill account. Skrill is the best digital wallet for gamblers because it was built for gamblers. Sophisticated gamblers like us use it to manage our bankrolls, whether we're playing games like poker or betting on our favorite sports, i.e. football. We can manage our bankroll using the wallet, which allows us to pay instantly and securely. It's payments without limits, basically. You can access your bankroll with instant deposits and withdrawals, and also the cash. Withdraw cash using your prepaid card. Let's just say Skrill is the best digital wallet for sports bettors. So it's a no-brainer that you create your free account right this instant. Make sure you go sign up at skrill.com/Barstool to create your free account and complete the account verification by clicking follow the game after registering so you can use the digital wallet today. It actually went over a lot smoother than last time. I don't know why I was fumbling over so many words like I can't read. Maybe because I'm not very good at it. But on to the Titans. Speaking of, are they going to be good at it? You have the Titans. You have Ryan Tannehill. You still have Mike Vrabel. Am I saying
I love Mike Vrabel.
That one still, I don't like the way that one's spelled either. It doesn't roll off the tongue very well.
You don't like the way his last name's spelled?
I like names like Sean Payton. You know how easy that is? Sean.
That is very easy.
I get corrected here all the time. I'm going to a restaurant tonight. One of the chef's his name is I know a person named Trahan, but his name is Trahan. So it's French, all the Cajuns over here. So if you just the Traha, you gotta make sure that you say it, or else people will get on your ass. That's why I think I have a complex about pronouncing people's names wrong because I live here. Because I'm never sure. Like whenever I first moved here, I thought my husband's boss's last name was Ledger. No, it's Leger. So just it's
the French, they never really spell things correctly. It's not your fault.
Not my fault, but neither is losing A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, and that's what happened to Ryan Tannehill. I know that they got, I believe he was a rookie, Burks, and then they got Woods from the Rams after his ACL tear. I believe it was an ACL tear. They got a decent defensive front. I think this is, if I were to find value, as I was saying earlier, this would be my value team, but I have a feeling that, we gotta have Derrick Henry stay healthy, just like we were talking about Jonathan Taylor. These season long, where we're depending on these running backs to make such humongous impacts. Those are the teams that I'm not trusting as much. How are we going to put, the workload on Jonathan Taylor and on, Derrick Henry? Whenever, Derrick Henry didn't play half of last season because he was getting...
Because I drafted him in my fantasy league, that's why.
When you got to start to ask yourself, when do these workhorses, when does it start to catch up with them? And is this the year where Derrick Henry has a rebirth breakout year where he comes out and it's just a fucking monster? Because that can definitely happen. He's the fastest, slowest runner I've ever seen. Just absolutely pummeling guys. But again, I am worried because he is such a key role within this offense. And that's where I worry about whether to put a divisional future on this Titans team or even to put a win total over the 9 because I'm worried about Derrick Henry's health. Period. End of story.
Megan, we're on the same page there. Derrick Henry, absolute and utter stud. He's got over 1,500 carries under his belt, and that's what scares me. He's almost 30 years old.
Me too.
Trust me. I know how my knee feels in the morning. That being said, if he is healthy, absolutely do I think that this Titans team has the ability to win the AFC South. Do I think that they have the ability to go deep into the playoffs? 100%. Because this entire offense is surrounded around him and what he's able to do. In 2020, this man made Ryan Tannehill look like an elite quarterback.
Ryan Tannehill has some fantastic numbers. For a while there, he was up with Drew Brees, and like it didn't reflect in his play style or in his winning ability. But he had fantastic numbers as far as like fantasy goes, as far as just pure statistics. Ryan Tannehill was getting really fantastic there for a slight second.
And it looked like, maybe Miami was his whole problem. But what I really think is it has to do with how much time he has.
Maybe
when he's got time to set up a play action, Ryan Tannehill is a great quarterback. When he doesn't, he's just that serviceable quarterback, I like to talk about. I think that Derrick Henry scares the shit out of me. I've already told my fantasy team, listen, we're in the number 5 spot. Derrick is probably still going to be there. Or are we going to even take this risk in drafting him again? I don't know the answer yet. Luckily, I still have 17 days until that draft to see how he looks in preseason, which he won't get very many reps, but at least enough to be able to see he's 100% healthy. This is really tough because, like I said about the Colts losing in those one-score games, guess what? The Titans went 6-1 in one-score games last year.
They so many close games, like tear your freaking hair out games to where it's like, how?
Yep. And I think that's going to be really difficult to maintain. I know I talk about regression to the mean a lot, and I do think we could see some regression there. But on the flip side, you mentioned Mike Vrabel. I love him. You know why? Because he finds ways to win games. We talk about Riverboat Ron. Mike Vrabel loves to gamble. He's got a huge set of cojones, and I love that for him. Listen, they got 12 wins last year, and they had a terrible turnover differential, and they still won games. This is such a Jekyll Hyde bet for me that I am just going to stay away and look for spots, particularly Titans as home underdogs, to be betting on them again this year. I'm with you. The AFC South is basically a 2-horse race here, whether it's the Colts, whether it's the Titans, and it all is on the backs of literally Derrick Henry or Jonathan Thomas. The problem with Derrick Henry is his offensive line, not great. As you mentioned, they've got a couple of guys they picked up. Their O-line's they have to block better. They have to. They got 3 guys that are old, including Taylor Lewan, who will not follow me back on Twitter. Can somebody tweet him and make sure he knows he needs to follow me back? We got all these guys with Bussin' with the Boys saying, oh, follow him. And I went through my whole thing the other night. I'm like, he doesn't follow me back. How rude.
How rude. Can't not follow Kelly back. Everyone go follow Kelly back. We're talking about turnovers. So before we get into the Jags, because who was essentially the turnover king last year? Well, actually, he was in second place. But Trevor Lawrence was second in the league to throw the most interceptions. Obviously, I assume you know who was first, as in Matt Stafford with 17. So whenever you're looking at this bet to throw the most interceptions, I feel like, people like me, the squares of the world, want to go look at like the MILF hunter, like a Zach Wilson, for example, or like a not great quarterback. Well, whenever I go look, you had last year, Matt Stafford was number 1 with 17 INTs. Him and Trevor Lawrence were right there, but I'm not going to put those two on the same level. Second, you have Justin Herbert.
What do you mean? One guy won a Super Bowl and the other guy didn't even come close?
One guy had
win their Super Bowl. When they beat the Buffalo Bills, that was their Super Bowl.
Boom. Second, you had Justin Herbert with in here and down here. See again, like that would be a bear. So Justin Herbert, 15 ints. Third, my boy Joey B with 14. Fourth, can you guess who was fourth?
Ooh,
We're on a
Patrick Mahomes.
Boom! You want to guess who was fifth? I guarantee we're on a tear here.
Hold on, give me a second. Josh Allen.
No, but it was Tom Brady.
Ooh.
So,
and I bet most of those are in prime time.
Exactly. So when you're looking at this bet, don't be like me. Don't go automatically and say, okay, the worst teams with the worst quarterbacks are going to be the guys that throw the most interceptions. You look at this list. These are all essentially A to A+ quarterbacks in the eyes of the world. Not just me, not just you. I mean, Stafford, he just won a Super Bowl, but he did it throwing 17 interceptions that year. Okay?
Damn, and look at all the hate I spewed towards Drew Lock.
And right, me too. And then you had Joe Burrow, who went to the Super Bowl, who had 14 interceptions. You had Patrick Mahomes, who could have been in the Super Bowl, with 13.
They didn't play very good defense in that second half.
Right? And then you had Tom Brady, Mr. GOAT, with 12. So all I'm saying is, I don't have a true pick for most interceptions thrown this season. I would tell you guys, it's wide open. You can literally find some fantastic odds on some fantastic guys. Don't just look for a bad quarterback. Don't just look for a guy that has new receivers that you don't think is gelled up with. Look at some guys that you have some confidence behind the ball, because I feel like guys with big balls.
Well, look at Brett Favre. I mean, he threw so many interceptions back in the day because he was a gunslinger. Megan, do you have the odds open right now? I'd be curious to see what our boy Jameis is to throw the most.
I do not, but I want to say he was plus 800. Okay. I believe, and I don't have them up, but I was looking at them earlier, and I looked at it and I go, haha, that would be funny, but no, it wouldn't, because Kelly and I have his.
No, that wouldn't be very funny. Actually, not at all. I would not like that one.
So, on that note, all I'm saying is it's wide open. Kelly, do you have an idea or just like a gut feeling on who you think could possibly throw the most interceptions this year?
As I mentioned, I said, who's a gunslinger? Those are the type of guys. And Matthew Stafford was a gunslinger last year, right? He had stud wide receivers. So it kind of makes sense that he would throw a ton of interceptions. But I'll be honest with you. We're going to get into the Jacksonville Jaguars here in a minute. Trevor Lawrence has got to take a step forward this year. They're going to have to give him a little bit more time. They're going to have to really build this offense around him. I'm not sure they can do it. Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be up in that mix as well. Patrick Mahomes, yes, while he still has Travis Kelce, and we'll get to the Kansas City Chiefs next week, he's got a lot going on right now. He lost his security blanket in Tyreek Hill. I wouldn't be surprised to see him throw just a few more INTs than he would like to, but it's tough because the whole world loves the Bills. Everybody's ready to give the Bills a Super Bowl trophy, and while I love Josh Allen, I was surprised to have you tell me that he wasn't fifth. And it was Tom Brady. So keep an eye on a couple of those guys.
Close. I would need to go back and look at my whole
How about this, Megan? I promise you on Monday, I will come with a actual hard money bet on who will throw the most interceptions this year in the NFL. And I will post my Barstool Sportsbook ticket.
Boom. I'm going to go put that right under our tweet right now. Kelly will be back Monday with a ticket on most INTs. Boom. Speaking of which, though, we said we were going to get to the Jaguars. I can't spell with that one, talk at the same time. Obviously we have the butt sniffer, Urban Meyer. He's out.
The what?
The butt sniffer. I can just feel like he stuck his finger in her pants just to sniff her butt. That's what I've convinced myself of. You have Doug Peterson, who is now the winner of the job over
Doug who?
Peterson?
Peterson?
You got a D. It's Peterson.
It's Peterson.
Makes sense. I don't like that either. There's a lot of things I don't like. But anyway, speaking of INTs, as we said, Trevor Lawrence was up there last year throwing 5 more interceptions than touchdowns. I have another quiz for you, and this one's a fun one. Do you know who the last quarterback was to throw more interceptions in his rookie season than touchdowns?
Oh.
I'll give you a hint. Da-na-na. No, that's wrong. That's.
I was like, is that a hit?
I thought, and I felt like that. I was trying
like a theme show. It was probably Peyton Manning.
Oh, the sheriff. I was trying to make some spooky ghost town music.
I had to think about it. I was like, it hadn't been that recent. I knew it wasn't that recent. Yeah,
it was Mr. Peyton.
My guy Peyton.
Mr. Peyton Manning. So, if we go by that, if A plus C does indeed equal B, C. No, there. See, I messed that up already.
So you're saying in 10 years, Trevor Lawrence is going to win a Super Bowl?
No, but he should at least win more than 2 games this season, because another crazy stat, the Jags in 2 seasons of football have won 4 games. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what their win total sitting at right now, Kelly?
And this one's just as perplexing to me as the Lions. 6.5 wins.
6.5. How are they going? I know we're going to take a step forward, but how in the fuck are we going to go from winning 4 games in 2 seasons to 7-1? Like, that is mind blowing, and the under is literally.
They spent like $150 million in free agency or something.
I get it. I totally get it. But how does that equate to all of a sudden 4 more games being won in the year? I mean, like, I get, as I said, I've made fun of the AFC South. If I could take an under on win totals for everyone, then if it was actually made sense and was like malleable, then I would do that. But it doesn't. Because I just hate this. I hate this division. But obviously, they're gonna take a step forward. And Pedersen's got a D. It shouldn't be Peterson. He won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, right? So he has to be capable of something, right? Like, it's not just this crazy, pull it out of his ass. That's not how you win a Super Bowl. He has to be a good coach. So I think that this Jags team takes a step forward, but I don't think it's a giant leap into 7 games. I'm looking at the under really hard here. I just don't see it. Do you?
I don't see a whole lot. Like you mentioned, Doug Peterson does have a Super Bowl underneath his belt, but he's got a brand new offensive coordinator, never been an offensive coordinator before. Press Taylor was an offensive coordinator's assistant. And then you've got a new defensive coordinator in Mike Caldwell, who was the linebackers coach at Tampa Bay. That scares me. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying those guys don't deserve a shot at, their coordinator positions. But that is kind of a little red flag going off to me. These guys need time to gel, just like players. Coaching staffs do as well. And while probably Eagles fans would disagree with me, I like Doug Peterson. I think he's a great coach. Do I think that this team needs a couple of more years? Probably. Trevor Lawrence, by all means, should take a step forward. Should take a step forward. But their schedule looks tough. And they have they have 2 games with less than 4 days worth of rest, right? Okay, let me read that again. They play 2 games with more rest than their opponent with 4 games with less rest. I don't even know how that even makes sense. But
not as much sense as a D does in this dude's last name.
They play 4 games against opponents that play the Thursday night game the week prior. That makes more sense. And I do want to go to the Jags game in Wembley with Doug's, because they play the Broncos, and I'm trying to figure out how to fit that in my schedule. Megan and I were talking about our football schedule before the show, and it's nuts.
It's extremely nuts.
This spending spree that this team did in the offseason looks nice on paper, right? But I just don't know if I believe in Trevor Lawrence. Again, you mentioned he can be expected to improve and not throw 17 interceptions. Maybe. But they also finished worse in fumbles last year. Do we see some more regression to the mean? Maybe they can hold on the ball a little bit better. Name a wide receiver there, Megan. They have one of the worst wide receiver cores ever.
I'm about to say, maybe I wrote one in my notes, but I don't even think I did, because I was like, I was more impressed with the Peyton Manning statistic. I think that one just blew me away, and I stopped caring about it.
I can't believe I pulled that one out of my ass. Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones. What? Who? When? Some of those names I haven't heard since college. Those guys do not impress me. And that just worries me here. Again, they do get to play the Texans twice. They are going to win games that they probably shouldn't have won, like I said about the Lions. This team always seems to pull off some major upset. Last year, they won games. They just didn't win games by a significant margin outside of the Bills game. But they did lose games by almost 2 touchdowns per game. 12.5 points per game they lost. That is maybe they've got to learn to cover before they can learn to win. They've got to be better in the first half. I just don't see 6.5 wins for this team. I'm looking through all of my notes trying to make some case that says, all right, Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to run a little bit of play action, which he does better on. But when he drops back, that dude's sitting on his ass almost all game. And that's not great. So out of where all the other guys in his draft class rank, Trevor Lawrence, I'm not that impressed with you, unfortunately. Not yet. And maybe he'll make me eat my words, Megan. They'll win 7 games. I just don't see it.
I don't see it either. And speaking of which, I don't know how much you want to talk about this Texans team because speaking of don't see it.
I love Davis Mills and his long neck. You don't want to talk about him?
I mean, if you really want to, but all I'm going to say is the best thing they did was get rid of Deshaun Watson, and I believe that was their only W that I'm really taking from this year. So if you want to break down what you think the Texans will do, I don't think I see them winning 5 games. This just seems like a team that definitely needs multi-year rebuild, and I don't see them doing a lot. I refuse to put any money on this Texans team, whether it be a player prop, a divisional future, or a win total, because just like other teams we've talked about, I like the Seahawks. I just went back in 2 pages. I just have no interest.
I get it, Megan. You could argue that they're the worst team in the NFL. You really could.
You could argue 100%, and that's why the Texans are going to be a fade until I watch them play football. If Davis Mills goes out there and is all of a sudden this year's MVP, congratulations.
Well, he's not going to do that. But you know what he did do? He definitely exceeded everybody's expectations last year. Half of us didn't even know who the hell he was or where he came from. And he came in and he started 13 games. He had 4 300-yard passing games. He had 16 passing touchdowns. That's a lot. That's not terrible. The offensive line was banged up really bad last year. One of my favorite offensive linemen, Larry Tunsil, he should be back. He should be healthy.
That's the last name that makes sense. His name is spelled the correct way. I can see it in my head, and I know how to say it.
You know how to spell Laramie Tunsil?
I think I do.
Spell it.
Tunsile. Tunsil?
No. Close. But I would not, if you asked me how to spell Laramie Tunsil, like the first time I ever heard his name, I would have spelled it like Laramie, Wyoming.
Is it Larmi? Hold on. I know I had a girl in my class.
No, just stop. I love you. Just stop. This is, as you mentioned, this is one of the worst teams in the NFL. They need so much improvement. They got rid of D-Hop, and this offense, doesn't have much outside of Brandon Cooks, right? And they finished last in total yards last year. This defense gave up the 2nd most yards per play. That you thought that they were going to have this roster rebuild, and then they didn't really do it. The real reason why I like the under, Megan, and the real reason why bookmakers, I'm going to rephrase that. I don't really like the under. The only reason why I lean the under is because of how difficult their strength of schedule is, right? They have such a hard schedule, and that is not good. They also don't have a good rest schedule, which is what I was just talking about with the Jags. I do think that they're going to win a couple of games that surprise people, just like they did last season.
Do you think it's over 5 games?
I think 5 games would be very surprising. If they won 5 games, I would be surprised.
So Kelly is looking towards the under, and as I've stated multiple times within this broadcast, if I could take the win total under on all of these AFC South teams, and it would make sense, I would do it. Although mathematically, I don't think it does make sense.
I do not believe so, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find that out for you. I think Lovie Smith is a great guy. I don't know.
Great guy. Don't know if he's an awesome coach, though.
I don't think he's a great head coach. And that upsets me because, like I said, I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great players coach. The guys want to play for him. That's huge. It's tough. He was a defensive coordinator last year.
There was a
You know,
guy
just
I knew that the team really liked to play for him a lot, and they did it in 2019, and then all of a sudden he didn't do it again, and then all of a sudden now I'm making Brian Kelly gritty T-shirts.
And here we are.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I forgot to shout out Glenny Balls. He sent me all sorts of fun Balls beachwear. I got his shirt on. I'm pulling a Megan where you wear a cute bra top underneath. But I'm really sad because the Tiger one is gone. But I do like. Wait, where is it? I should have left it buttoned. I'm an idiot. I do like the palm tree one though. I was debating. I wore the beers. This one's got beer, baseball, basketball.
Your two of your favorite things: beer and baseball,
and football. Somewhere. Yeah, listen, I love beer and baseball. Actually, I love seltzers and football.
And money.
And money. That is true. On that note, money shots. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Absolutely. We see you back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Talking all things NFC North. You want to do North tomorrow? We can figure it out. We'll text each other on the Slick. Don't forget, Brian Kelly Gritty Tea available as in the Who's Your Daddy Tea over at the Barstool store. You can probably still get 10% off. I'm not sure. There was a big back to school sale. So if you didn't get anything, you might have missed out, but you can always go and check out. They had some fire ass hats. I want to go and invest in some more hats. Obviously I need to, because I don't feel like doing my hair anymore. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.